friendship that'll never ever end.
Run!
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction video 372. Day in the neighborhood. My brothers and sisters, we are going to a channel, y'all, that we usually watch every Friday. I think for at least like the past 2-3 months, we have been watching this man every Friday. But my work schedule has changed up, you know what I'm saying? And my schedule as far as like publishing and putting out these videos with y'all has changed up. So it went from being Fridays, and I was thinking that every Saturday we can watch a video from this guy. But the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ballin, for the past 2 weeks have put out his latest videos on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? So we've been checking him out. So I'm sitting back thinking, and I'm like, fuck it. At least for the time being, we can watch him on Sundays. And that man that I'm talking about is AJ from the thewhyfiles. The thewhyfiles, y'all. It has been maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know. It feels like it's been forever since we last watched the video from this man. Hope y'all do excelente out there today. And I'm glad that you came on back to the channel once again to fuck with the bean. And check the title of this video out, y'all. This gonna be a good one. Backyard Time Machine. The time travel mystery of Mike Madman Marcum. We talking about time travel, y'all. That's why I said this gonna be a good one, man. I'm very excited. Because in a way, I don't know if I believe in time travel per se, but I feel like the time that we living in right now, I don't feel like that's the only time. Like, I feel like it's different timelines out there. I guess that's what I'll say. I don't freaking know. Y'all know I'm finna be all over the place when we watch the thewhyfiles, because he had my mind going all over the damn place. You know what I'm saying? But before we check it out, y'all know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you might need. Get what you need. We back to AJ from the thewhyfiles. Y'all got what y'all need. Y'all ready to go? Then let's fucking go.
This episode of the thewhyfiles is brought to you by ShipStation. Mike fired up the box and the lasers came to life. The machine produced a small circular area of distortion. It was a vortex about 8 inches across that looked like ripples above a fire. This was unexpected. Mike didn't know what the vortex was or if it was dangerous, so he grabbed a sheet metal screw and tossed it through the field. It vanished. Mike just stared and blinked and waited. The screw was just gone. So Mike powered down his machine and turned to head back into the house. Then he heard something clattering. It was the screw. It rolled to a stop about 2 feet from the box. Mike thought he invented some kind of teleportation device. He didn't. Michael Madman Marcum invented a time machine.
Get whatever you may need. Y'all fuck with the thewhyfile, man, with his commercials, but bruh, oh my god. So did that dude sound like that screw had went into like a different time or something? You know what I'm saying? That's why it looked like it disappeared for a while, then it came back. Like I said, man, this is gonna be interesting as hell. We already starting off good, and y'all fuck with shipstation.com/thewhyfiles, man. You know, support my boy AJ. And Hecklefish too. We love Hecklefish. Shout out to Hecklefish always. Hold on. I'm going too far. Let's take it back. Let's go.
Mike Marcum from Stanbury, Missouri, was an amateur inventor who liked to tinker. He lacked formal science training, but he had a natural aptitude for electronics. The back porch of his house looked like a home appliance graveyard. Old TVs, radios, and CD players were all dismantled with their insides spilled everywhere. There were spools of copper wire and magnets of all sizes. His current project was a Jacob's ladder, a device that consists of two metal rods which start close together at the bottom and spread apart as they go up. This produces climbing arcs of electricity. But Mike had an idea for a modified version of a Jacob's ladder. The first thing he had to do was create a transformer.
More than meets the eye.
No, an electronic transformer.
Transformers are electronic. Hello. How else do you think they defeat the Decepticons? By talking sternly?
Do you mind if I continue?
Fine. Go ahead.
To get the arc of the electricity going in a Jacob's ladder, you need a high voltage power supply, typically in the tens of thousands of volts. Now, in the United States, the standard household voltage is 120 or 240 volts. That won't do. So Mike built his own transformer.
Robots in disguise. Sorry. It's out of my system now. Go ahead.
Basically, what you do is wrap two separate coils of wire around a common core. One coil is connected to the power source, so in this case, the fuse box on Mike's house. The other coil then has more or fewer turns in order to step up or step down the voltage. So Mike sat down and just started coiling wire. After about 400 turns, he lost count. But he coiled enough wire to step up his voltage from 120 volts to 20,000 volts.
Dang.
Now he's got his power supply. For the climbing rods or conductors, Mike actually used wire hangers.
No wire hangers ever! Somebody out there gets it.
How it's supposed to work is, the voltage is applied to the conductors. The electrical pressure then ionizes the air particles between the rods, allowing current to flow. The arc starts at the narrowest point where the rods are closest together, and then the heat from the arc makes the air around it hotter and less dense. Hot ionized air has lower resistance. Hot air rises, and so the electrical arc rises along the conductors. But the arc won't start on its own. You need to initiate it manually by moving the rods closer together or farther apart. It's touchy. Also, if the air pressure changes, it won't work. If the humidity changes, it won't work. Air temperature, movement, even a little bit of smoke or dust in the air, and it won't work. So Mike had an idea. What if he used lasers to heat the air around the conductors? This would lower the air resistance, ionize it, and make the spark ignite on its own. At least, that was the plan. So he removed the laser emitters from a couple of CD players, connected his homemade transformer, and fired it up. No spark. It didn't work. As he was going to disconnect the machine, Mike saw something strange. Hovering above the device was a sphere of distorted air. It looked kind of like the wavy mirage you see over a highway on a hot day. But this wasn't some powerful ball of energy. It was hardly visible. If you weren't looking for it, you'd miss it. Unsure what this thing was or if it was dangerous, Mike tossed a sheet metal screw into the energy field. The screw disappeared. Mike just stood there for a second, confused. He didn't know if the screw got vaporized or what happened. Then the screw fell out of the field and landed on the ground a couple of feet away. Now, he repeated this experiment a few times with the screw, and every time the same result. He tossed the object in, it disappeared for a second or so, then reappeared out of the energy field. Now, Mike didn't know if his machine was teleporting objects or possibly sending them a few seconds into the future. After a few more tests, the machine overloaded. The lasers were dead and the components were fried. Now, even though all that was left of Mike's invention was a burnt-out box of parts, he knew he was onto something. So now he would rebuild the machine, but this time, instead of it being 18 inches tall, he'd build it 8 feet tall. And to do that, he'd need access to a lot more power. And Mike knew exactly how to get it.
Hey, shout out to Mike though, y'all. Real talk. Shout out to Mike just for him just thinking outside the box and just, this dude got old TVs and radios, you know what I'm saying? Old electronic parts and put it together and have stumbled upon something that could be life changing for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't intend for this to happen with this strange field of energy that is acting strange when you throw something into it, then it disappears, then it reappears. He never intended for none of that to happen. He just was effing around with different electronics and stuff, gadgets and gadgets, and have stumbled upon something that could be, like I said, life-changing for all of us. And now he is gonna make it even bigger. Let's see how it goes.
Mike Marcum was pretty sure he invented a time machine, but to really test it, he'd need to scale up his invention. His prototype was only about 18 inches tall. Now he wanted to go bigger. Scaling up the parts of the machine wasn't a problem. Bigger conductors and even bigger lasers were available. The problem was power. He needed lots of it. His house gave him 120 volts. He stepped that up to 20,000 volts for the prototype, but his homemade transformer blew out after just a few minutes. If Mike was really going to scale and test his machine, he'd need transformers that can handle 50,000 volts or more without breaking a sweat. Basically, he needed the kind of transformer you see on power poles, but those are not easy to get, and they're not cheap. Mike didn't have $15,000 to $20,000 to put into this experiment. Besides, he'd need more than one or two transformers, he'd need a few. So Mike had an idea. A bad idea. He knew there were 6 industrial-grade transformers just sitting in a yard doing nothing but getting rusty. But that yard was a substation for the King City, Missouri Power Company. So Mike called a couple of friends with pickup trucks and in broad daylight drove to the substation, loaded up the transformers, and drove away.
Okay, Mike, you just committed a crime then, bro. You stealing now, bro. Then you stealing from, like, the government, dude. You tripping. Hope you don't go to jail.
A few weeks later, he had his next version of the machine. The transformers were connected to the grid, new lasers were in place, and the wire hanger conductors were upgraded to 4-foot-long, half-inch metal rods. This thing was a beast. Now, the moment of truth. Mike powered up the machine. There was a loud crack, a spark, and then nothing. His whole house went dark. The new machine knocked out the power. Then Mike looked out the window. He knocked out the power in the whole town. It took some tinkering, but soon Mike was able to get the machine running without causing brownouts all over town. And the machine? It worked. It created an energy field or vortex a few feet wide, so Mike sent objects through the vortex. But this time, objects weren't reappearing a few seconds later. They weren't reappearing at all. The objects were just vanishing to who knows where. One afternoon, Mike had a few friends over and they were tossing small objects into the energy field. They wondered, could a big object go through?
Yeah, I'd like to send my ex-wife through.
Well, a few of Mike's buddies got behind the living room couch and pushed. The couch went into the energy vortex and was gone.
Oh!
Yeah, that was the good news.
Yeah, what's the bad news?
Mike's cat was on the couch at the time.
Yeah, so what's the bad news?
So now everyone is just standing there in an empty living room staring at this whirling field of energy. Then they heard a pounding on the front door. Mike opened the door and there were 8 deputies on the property. The officer at the door had a search warrant. Mike's neighbors had reported a lot of weird activity happening at the house. And it didn't take long for police to put together Mike's project and reports from the power company of a lot of missing equipment. So whatever experiment Mike Marcum was planning would have to wait, because now he's going to jail.
I just said that shit earlier, man. Mark ass sit up here stealing from the government, bro. You stealing like, bro, you tripping. But, man, where the hell that cat went? Like, I would be so interested to this might sound crazy as hell, y'all. And I don't know if I really believe this shit myself, but I'm gonna say it. If it wasn't me, I feel like I would want somebody to walk through the damn vortex. Let me just go and just put it out there. I don't know if I want to walk through it or I want somebody else. Anybody who will volunteer be like, man, let me walk through it. Because I wonder what's on the other side. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder, because you disappear from our reality, I wonder what reality you go in. Like, that shit's so intriguing to me. So I would be very tempted to walk through that bitch. I ain't gonna lie. But, yeah, Mark, man, I mean, Mike, bro, you stealing, bro. See how much time in jail he get.
For stealing the Transformers and stealing power, Mike Marcum got 60 days in jail and 5 years probation. Now, while he was in jail, Mike thought of different ways he could make the machine more efficient. But there was no way for Mike to build any of this. He lost his house, he lost his job, he was a pariah in his town because of the brownouts. It seemed like Mike's time machine career had come to an end. But then something happened. His story made the news. The headline was, Kansas City man tries to build time machine on porch.
A Missouri worker set out to make a time machine on his back porch. The contraption he came up with was not completely off the mark, according to scientists. There are theoretical physicists working on those areas, and it's not total nonsense, according to the chairman at the physics department at the University of Missouri at Kansas City. The Stanberry police say the voltage that Marcum had diverted into the contraption caused power interruptions in and around the northwest Missouri town of about 1300. Marcum was arrested January 29th on a felony charge of stealing the transformers from a power generating station in Kings City. He pleaded guilty, and last month was placed on 5 years probation. Police said the transformers had a capacity of 12 to 76,000 volts each, enough to easily cause electrocution or an explosion. Marcum, who told police that he has 2 years of college-level electrical engineering, said he was building a time machine, but didn't have enough power for it. That's according to the Stanberry Police Chief Tom Hampton.
And that headline caught the interest of someone who would change Mike's life forever.
Let's go!
From the high desert and the great American Southwest, I bid you all good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world's time zones, all of them covered amply by this program, Coast to Coast AM. I'm Art Bell. It is my honor and privilege to be escorting you through the second half of the weekend, and what a program it is going to be tonight.
If you're building a time machine and you need help getting the word out, there's no better person in the world to help you do that than Art Bell.
I set out to find young Mr. Marcum, and I found him. Michael, are you there?
Yeah.
Good.
Art Bell interviewed Mike Marcum for about an hour and a half on the Coast to Coast radio show. Not only did Mike sound legitimate, but he clearly had considerable knowledge and expertise in electronics. And so did Art Bell.
Let's say it's 400 turns in your primary, and there's 4,000 turns in your secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 10 times the turns, and then you'll get 10 times the voltage.
Right.
Watts, amps, voltages, stepping up, stepping down. Art knew about all that stuff. If Mike was faking it, he wasn't going to fool Art Bell.
Well, this was, I was using square waves, to where I could actually, it was easy, controlling the duty cycle is easy to control the voltage that way.
Right.
So, because you can't really find, it's hard to find variacs rated at megawatts, so.
Man, I'll tell you, if you were using square waves, I bet the ham operators heard you for miles.
And he didn't try to fool anyone. Mike came across as humble. He wasn't looking for fame or attention. In fact, Art Bell is the one who tracked Mike down and convinced him to come on the air. Millions of people listened to that interview that night, and before long, people were calling in with offers. Some had transformers they would donate, others had property he can use, and plenty of people were ready to financially support Mike in building a new, bigger machine.
Man, I feel like Mike finna get killed by the government, man, for real. Because now he drawing attention to himself with this time machine. Because that's really was not his intention. But Art Bell and, you know what I'm saying, people want to support and help him out and fund him, basically. Give him a property, a place to experiment with this shit. Giving them money, giving them more voltage power, all that. I feel like the government gonna knock this man off. Suddenly, I keep calling him Mark because of his last name. Mark, I still said it. Mike Marcum gonna end up dead on the news mysteriously. Y'all know how the government do. Let's go.
How do you feel about the possibility, Michael, of somebody coming along and being your mentor, even more than this, maybe contributing money to build a great big gigantic version?
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be like a dream come true.
For the next few days, offers came in, and Mike, with his new team, created a plan. He corresponded with a few physicists and picked their brains about his technology and how it could be used for time travel. Several scientists helped Mike come up with an idea for a mechanism with rotating magnets that would make the machine easier to control. So Mike got a warehouse, all the equipment he needed, and access to more power than he could ever use. It took about a year, but he finally built a newer, larger, and highly upgraded version of his time machine. And you know what? The machine worked.
Oh. I was kind of joking about the government shit, but I know y'all know what I'm saying, man. But now, Mike, he got all the power and resources he need for this time machine. So let's see what the hell happened.
It took almost 18 years, but Art Bell was finally able to catch up with Mike Marcum. Honestly, Art thought Mike was dead.
And I called you madman because I was convinced you were going to absolutely fry yourself alive and turn into a french fry. There are other people who have been involved in time travel, Mike, that I've had on the show, and honest to God, Mike, they're gone. I don't know where they are, whether it's Teeter or Anderson, others that we've had on the show, they're gone. I mean, they're gone.
But Mike Madman Marcum was very much alive, and a lot had happened since the last time he and Art spoke. Because of Mike's last appearance on Coast to Coast, he suddenly had a lot of benefactors. He had a little money, equipment, and lots of power. Mike set up in a warehouse in Overland Park, Kansas, and there he built several iterations of his time machine. The most successful version used rotating magnets. So instead of having a small energy vortex, Mike was able to create what he called a plasma tornado.
Maybe it'll be more efficient if I use, instead of using basically heat from a laser in a cold room, the differential, the temperature difference between those two to stir the plasma, maybe even more efficient if I use the magnetic field to stir it. That's what I ended up doing.
Use the magnetic field to do what?
Basically, it's, well, in simple terms, this thing looks like basically a plasma tornado.
So how much power do you need to create a plasma tornado? Well, remember Mike's first machine? That prototype ran at 20,000 volts.
Yeah.
Well, his next version...
Yeah, the one that ate the couch and the cat?
Yep.
What a waste of a perfectly good couch.
Stop it. Anyway, the next version used about 70,000 volts. Ooh. This new machine in the warehouse, which is about 15 feet tall, it was pulling 3 million volts.
Oh!
That is a crazy amount of pressure.
Pressure?
Well, in simple terms, volts measure the pressure of force driving the electric current. So think of electricity like a water hose. Amps are how much water is flowing through the hose, or how much power is running through a circuit. Most households get between 100 and 200 amps of power.
Well, unless you got a grow room, then you need a lot more power.
What did I say about this?
Tomatoes! I was growing tomatoes!
Anyway, amps are the amount of power. Voltage is the pressure of the power. So imagine taking that water hose and making the end of it smaller and smaller. That increases the pressure of the water coming out of the end. So even if you don't have a lot of amps, you can still create really high voltage. That's what a transformer does. So using juice from the power company, supplemented by a couple of generators, Mike had more than enough power to run his machine.
2 cylinders, 1 cylinder inside the other.
Right.
With a magnetic, with another, basically a circle of magnetic electromagnets around it. So basically you got a bunch of plasma like inside of it with a magnetic field rotating it.
You know, what you are describing, I'm sure you've heard stories of the Philadelphia experiment, right?
Yep.
Well, they described a similar electronic setup with regard to the rotating magnetic fields.
Art correctly pointed out that this is how the Philadelphia experiment was done, with high voltage and rotating magnetic fields. In fact, when Mike was arrested, he told the police he was building a time machine. Now, of course, they thought he was nuts, but several scientists said that if building a time machine was possible, Mike's technology was on the right track.
Because Einstein's equations do allow for time travel. And they're blueprints, blueprints for different kinds of time travel designs that are compatible with Einstein's theory. For example, gigantic spinning cylinders. You go around the cylinder and you come back before you left.
So now Mike started testing the machine by sending objects through the vortex. First with small objects like bits of wood, baseballs, and little things like that. And they went through just fine, but they just disappeared, just like the couch.
And the cat.
But they really didn't disappear. They just ended up in different locations.
So, what, it's teleporting stuff?
No. The objects would go in and vanish, and then about 2 minutes later, they reappeared. But the objects ended up between 50 and 150 yards east or west of the machine. And always east and west, never north or south. Mike thought this could have something to do with the Earth's rotation or magnetic field. And look, I know the story sounds crazy.
I don't mind it.
But these tests were witnessed by 15 people.
Damn.
Anyone who donated money or equipment, Mike let them be a part of the project. And those people showed up. I would have too. And it's a good thing there were so many people on hand. Hamsters are fast.
Wait, did you just say hamsters?
Yep. The tests were so successful that Mike started sending small animals through, specifically mice, hamsters, and guinea pigs.
No more cats?
No.
That's a shame.
Between the inanimate objects and animals, Mike had successfully tested the machine about 200 times. It seemed like varying the voltage and the speed of the magnets could adjust how far objects were traveling. Before long, Mike could make a pretty good prediction of where an object was going to end up and how long it would take before reappearing. So at this point, there was really only one final test to try.
Do you mean?
Yep. Mike stood in front of the vortex, took a deep breath, and jumped. There was a flash of light, and Mike disappeared. Now, remember, Art Bell had been following this project closely. He was even planning a trip to the warehouse. But when Art checked in looking for Mike, nobody had seen him. He was just gone.
Oh shit, now I don't feel so good about what I just said earlier about I would try to jump in, you know what I'm saying, and go through and see what would happen. It sounds like Mike may never be found again, y'all. But one thing that I'm glad, like, kind of make me believe this shit even more is the fact that he had witnesses. He had, 15 people watching him run these tests? It wasn't like he was just in this damn warehouse by himself. He got people vouching for him. But let's see what the hell that happened to Mike, y'all. This is crazy and interesting at the same damn time.
The media did pay attention, and the media did, including me, nationally, went on the air and said, Madman is gone. We can't find him.
When Mike...
What if Mike come back and he like 20 years older or some shit? That'll be crazy as hell, man. What if that man reappear, he old as hell now? Like Captain America at the end of Endgame. If you know, you know.
Came to, he was not in the warehouse. He was lying in the middle of a field somewhere with the worst headache he'd ever had. And there was a big problem. He had no memory of how he got there. He didn't even know his own name. So he got up and just started walking. Now, it took some time, but his memories slowly returned. Eventually, he hit Fairfield, Ohio, a suburb of Cincinnati. And Fairfield is 800 miles due east of the warehouse in Overland Park, Kansas.
Damn.
But Mike had no driver's license or ID of any kind, no credit cards, no money. So he went to the nearest homeless shelter to grab a meal and get his bearings. When he got to the shelter, he saw a newspaper. He had jumped 2 years into the future.
I was just joking, man. I was just joking. I said old as hell, like 20 years, but hell, 2 years still crazy. I was just joking when I said that. I wasn't serious.
Mike took a few odd jobs and got together enough money to take a bus back to his warehouse in Overland Park. When he got there, the warehouse was empty. Everything was gone. The machine, all the videos that he took of each test, and all his notes, every bit of documentation was all gone.
Men in black.
Could have been the men in black, or it could have just been the landlord who thought Mike was gone, so he just stole the equipment or threw it away.
No way, that stuff is still out there somewhere.
It might be. Now, Mike was pretty sure he could recreate the machine. He felt he could remember 90 to 95% of the process, but it would take a lot of money. The equipment in the warehouse was worth a couple of $1 million. But Mike still had memory gaps. He couldn't remember whose donors were. His list of supporters was in the warehouse. And that brings us to Mike's third appearance on Coast to Coast. He caught Art Bell up on everything that happened. And although he wasn't looking for money, once again, people were ready to help.
This one guy suggests, I'm actually looking at the website now, go to, tell him to set up a GoFundMe account.
Yeah, GoFundMe or, well, that's crowdfunding, right?
Art also recommended that Mike pursue a book deal. And Mike admitted that he's no author, but if he teamed up with a ghostwriter, he could certainly cover all the technical details. Another suggestion was work with the government.
No!
What would you cooperate with them, or?
The thing with DARPA, well, I don't have firsthand experience with them, but I'm willing to bet they try to militarize every... I mean, basically the check isn't free and clear. There's always strings attached.
I hear that.
Smart man.
So Mike had options, and Art Bell encouraged him to keep working.
All right, everybody, that's it. Everybody in the world wanted an update on Madman Marcum, and now you've got it. He's not going to stop. What's next for Madman? Only time will tell. Good night.
And Mike Marcum would continue his research and continue to experiment. Mike wanted to travel again, but he needed to bring things with him, so when he woke up, he could quickly get up to speed in case his memory failed again. A big problem he kept running into was that nothing metal could go through the vortex. Well, metal could go in, but it was unpredictable. Sometimes metal would come right out like those sheet metal screws, or sometimes the metal would explode in a shower of sparks. But after some trial and error, Mike discovered that if a metal tube was built a specific way, it would act as a Faraday cage, meaning that the tube could travel through the portal and reappear undamaged. Plus, anything inside the tube would be unaffected, including metal. So Mike continued to document his work and built a pretty large following online. One day, Mike posted that he was ready to go through again. And this time he would go through inside the tube, and he'd take his cell phone with him. That way he'd have everything he needs, his notes, photographs, even money. It was a great idea. And that was the last anyone had heard from him.
Wow.
As always, Art Bell kept tabs on Mike and was disappointed to hear that he was gone again. To where or when, nobody knew. But during one radio show, Art took a disturbing call. The caller had found a newspaper article from 1930. The article described a man who had drowned. His body had washed up on the beach. The article said he was found in a strange metal drum, and the only object he had on him was a small rectangular device that nobody could explain. The man had no ID, so he was named John Doe. But some people had a feeling his real name was Mike.
What in the fucking hell, my brothers and sisters? So this damn time machine not only go to the future, it can go to the past. That man, this is so mind blowing, but it makes sense in a way. Like, it's convincing. Like, I'm one of those type of people, bro. If I don't believe this completely, I'm not gonna dismiss it completely. Like, oh no, this just all bullshit what we watching. I'm gonna keep my eyes and my ears open and listen. And right now, it's sounding like it's plausible, at least, my brothers and sisters. Mike then ended up back in the 1930s. Wow.
When Art Bell fans talk about their favorite episodes, there are a few on everyone's list. Jonathan Reed's Alien in the Freezer, The Man Who Flew Over Area 51, The Mojave Phone Booth.
Everyone loves Mel's Hole.
Mel's Hole is a classic. And Mike Madman Marcum is on that list. Art Bell loved time travel stories, and nobody could weave a tale like Art could. The third interview Art Bell did with Mike was in 2015, and it's a masterclass in storytelling. Art already had all the information. Everything from the early days of Mike building a Jacob's ladder on his porch, Mike going to jail for stealing the Transformers, the test with the animals, the warehouse, and Mike's 2-year jump in time. But Art teases the story out slowly. Nothing is spoiled. He walks you through the story at the perfect pace, giving you just enough information to keep you hooked. And we were hooked. And look, Mike Marcum doesn't bring much personality to the story, but Art knows enough about electronics and physics to keep us in the loop on all the technical stuff. And Art Bell never condescended to his guests. He never ridiculed them. He made them feel comfortable because Art knew that's how to get the story. I think this is one of the reasons why the Y-Files has success with these topics where many other channels don't. I don't condescend or ridicule. I don't talk down to you. And no matter how bonkers a topic is, I don't ridicule it. I don't have to believe a story to enjoy it. And if you believe a story that I don't, great. So here's a piece of...
Hey, that's some real shit AJ just said, y'all. That was real shit. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Solicited advice to creators who cover these topics with a snarky attitude. You're making the story about you, and that's a mistake. So, Madman Mike Marcum, one of the best time travel stories ever. But is it true? Well, there's a lot of information about Mike on the internet that isn't true. In his last interview with Art, Mike even debunks some of those stories. Like, he never sent a cat through the portal, but he did send the couch through, but no cat. Damn. And Mike addressed that article from 1930 where the man washed up on the beach in a metal drum. Now, I always thought it was a great twist, but that never happened. And there's a current story going around that Mike was still alive but homeless and died last year. Also not true. Now, I don't want to dox the guy, but Mike is still around. And unsurprisingly, it looks like he spent most of his career in technology. But what about the machine? Well, Mike Marcum clearly knew a lot about electrical engineering. When he built that prototype on his porch, he was only 21 years old. And scientists did say that his technology was on the right track. Now, they didn't believe he could actually create a time machine, but they said if a theoretical time machine could be built, it would be done with high voltage and magnetism. Nikola Tesla thought he could possibly see through time using electromagnetism. And Einstein proved time travel was possible with gravity. The higher the gravity, the faster time moves. And in extreme gravity, like near a black hole, time would move very, very fast. If Mike Marcum figured out a way to create a vortex of extremely high gravity, in theory, that would work.
It's already been scientifically proven you can use gravity to dilate time. Well, basically I'm using electromagnetism, which is 10 to the 30th times stronger.
Right,
so
right.
I don't need basically a black hole to do this.
Art Bell's audience called in with lots of questions and criticism, but Mike was ready for all of it. For example, there's something with time travel stories that really bothers me. Let's say you had a time machine that could move you 10 minutes into the future. Okay, fine. You move through time. But what about space?
Yeah.
The Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour. It's orbiting the sun at 66,000 miles per hour. Our solar system zips through the galaxy at over 500,000 miles per hour, and our galaxy moves through space at 1.3 million miles per hour. So where you're sitting right now, in 10 minutes, you'll move almost 90,000 miles in space. Time machine stories never account for this. The Earth is always in the same place. But Mike Marcum does address this. He says his machine stays in sync with the gravitational center of the Earth. So he's not only moving through time, he's moving through space. I've linked to all 3 interviews below. You can hear Mike fielding questions very calmly. He comes across as humble and not trying to prove anything. Remember, he didn't pursue Art Bell to tell his story. Art pursued Mike every time. Really, the main reason to be skeptical of Mike Marcum's time travel story is he's here. If I figured out how to time travel to the future, I'd do it, wouldn't you?
Hell
But who
yeah.
knows? Mike is still young. Maybe he's working on a newer version of his time machine. I hope he is. Now, people will roll their eyes at this story and say Mike's crazy. But the world needs more people like Mike Marcum. Because when time travel is invented, and I think it will one day, it will be invented by a madman.
Great fucking video from the Y-Files, my brothers and sisters. See, this is why I wanted to come back to this, man. This is why I hate that for the past week or two, however long it has been. Like I said, it feel like it been forever that we ain't been watching him, man. Oh, man. Mike, I don't know, y'all. I don't know if Mike bullshitting or not. I don't know if he telling the truth or not. But the one thing I can say is, like, he not trying to get no clout off this. He not trying to get no attention. He not trying to make no money off this, no nothing. So that would make me inclined to believe that it's more real fact than fiction. That's what it is, fact than fiction. It make me believe that a little bit more. And it's so interesting, y'all. Time travel just in itself is so freaking interesting. And another mind-blowing thing that the Wi-Fi AJ said at the end of the video that I been knew, but just hearing him say it, it's just crazy, y'all, how fast all us, right now, as I'm talking to y'all, right freaking now, all us on this planet Earth is flying. Flying is not even the word. Like, we zooming through space and we don't feel a damn thing. We don't feel it at all because the earth is so massive and we so tiny, so small, so we can't feel it. But we are moving, all galaxy, all of us, just we moving through space so freaking fast, man. That shit crazy. But I just thought about that too, man. But goddamn, man, this time traveling shit is crazy as fuck, my brothers and sisters. But I'm gonna go here real quick and I'm gonna let y'all go because I swear with the Wi-Files, I can literally sit right here in front of this camera and talk to y'all for an hour strong. You know what I'm saying? And go down all type of rabbit holes. But I'm gonna leave y'all with this because this is something that I believe too. And Wi-Fi, AJ, he alluded to it too at the end of this video. But I really believe this, y'all. I don't believe that humans gonna live to see us being able to create time travel. Do that make sense to y'all? Like, I don't believe, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be dead, y'all gonna be dead, everybody on the earth right now gonna be dead if we get to that point. But like, that's why I go to the point where I don't think we're gonna make it to the year 3000. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, all of us be dead. But I don't think the earth is, and human as a society, human beings, humanity is going to make it to the year 3000. Because if we do, by then I'm pretty sure we'll have time machines and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? But I don't believe that we gonna ever make it that far. Because I believe if we really like, if the government come out and be like, we got time machines, we can take you back to the 1950s, 1850s, 1750s, 2050s, 2250s. We got time machines who can take you just anywhere in history. That shit'll destroy the earth. That shit'll destroy us. Seriously, that's just like I believe that that's one of the reasons why the government, they came out and said that the aliens came out in a roundabout way, but I feel like the government had actually talked to aliens. That's why they ain't came out and said we in communication with aliens from this galaxy and this and that and that and that, because that shit'll destroy. Like, it's certain stuff that just humans as a whole, I'm talking about not just the United States where I live, not just North America, I'm talking South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, all the goddamn continents, Australia, hell, Antarctica. I'm talking about all of them. I just feel like it's certain things that we can't know as just humans without everything just going to hell. It's certain things that we can't know. In time travel, hell, let's just keep it real. The government probably already know how to do time travel. They probably already know, but they can't tell us because we will destroy ourselves if we learn certain things, my brothers and sisters. And I still end up going down a rabbit hole with y'all, and I didn't even try to. I'm gonna stop right here. I digress. As always, man. Y'all hit that like button, comment, subscribe, do all that. Man. Y'all know I gotta come back to the Wi-Files. Oh my God. We coming back to the next video for sure. And like I said, y'all hit that like button, do all that. Come on back tomorrow. And I'm gonna leave y'all with this. Love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.